Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome to the 22nd Virtual Transform Westside Summit. My name is Benjamin Early.
Good morning, I'm Valerie Williams.
And we're doing something new here at the Summits. It's springtime, it's a season of new beginnings, and something new that we're doing here at the Summits is we're having community members come in on a rotating basis to help co-host the show. Ms. Valerie Williams is the first of the kind. Ms. Williams, why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
My name is Valerie Williams. I am a proud graduate of the Booker T. Washington High School, Booker T. Washington class of 1982, where we bleed blue and white. Yes, sir.
Hey.
And also, I am the president of the Atlanta Alumni Association of the Booker T. Washington High School.
All right, and why don't you tell folks what it means to be a Bulldog, what it means to be a Washingtonian. We see you got the Washington drip from head to toe, literally from head to toe.
Yes, that's what I do, Benjamin.
Socks included. So tell us a little bit about what that means to you.
It's about the historic site. It's about being a Washingtonian. It's like no other. We have no successors or predecessors. There's none before us, and there will be none after us. And so it's how we've matriculated. It's who we are. It's what we do. It's who we bleed. You see, I'm blue and white all the way down to the socks. I have to show it to you. That's what we do every day.
I'm ready for the socks. I know.
But yes, to have matriculated there, to have been a product of 45 White House Drive, where every day we knew that we were somebody. So I'm so proud to have matriculated from M. Magnus Jones to Booker T. Washington High School.
All right, well, we've got a great panel discussion coming up later on. We're going to be featuring Goodwill of North Georgia. John's going to have that panel discussion coming up in a bit. But for right now, we want to mention that we have a bulletin available on our website, westsidefuturefund.org, and you can find it. You can find all the pertinent information relating to the show, the bios for our panelists, and much more information on the website. And right now, Ms. Valerie, I understand that you've got your own brochure that you'd like to show off for the folks.
Yes, this brochure is a 2-year combination of hard work from all the leaders in the Washington cluster. This book let everyone know, from the philanthropic community to educators to parents. It's a one-stop shop of who we are. From M. Magnus Jones to Hollis Academy to TAG, Tuskegee Airmen Global Academy to Brown Middle School to Booker T. Washington High School. It's talk about our STEM program. It is everything of who we are in the Washington cluster. You don't have to look any further when you want to educate your kids. We are the Washington cluster, where we are one cluster, one family. And so if you really want to know about the Washington cluster, this brochure lets you know everything about it. We can be reached at aaabtw1924@gmail.com, because you will want your students to be part of the Washington cluster and matriculate through the Bulldog cluster.
And speaking of our community, one of our values here at Westside Future Fund is to do things with the community, not to the community. And that's, you know, having Ms. Valerie Williams on set right now is a reflection of that. But speaking of which, we've got our Westside Future Fund mission, vision, and values that should be showing up right about now. And we also have our dynamic board of directors. And finally, our Westside Future Fund team. We cannot do the work that we do without a lot of dynamic people contributing and pulling long hours to make sure that we can help revitalize the Westside in a way that Dr. King would be proud of. With that being said, it's now time to get connected and stay connected. We are on social. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channels. We love to hear from you. Reach out to us anytime. We're happy to engage with you. And Ms. Valerie, I understand we're going to be giving away some gift cards today?
Oh, yes. We have 2 great partners. We're giving away certificates today. The first one being the Home Depot, where they have helped us through the community, worked through the community, and given a lot to the issues and things that we want to do. So if you have not yet, please go to the website, westsidefuturefund.org, go to the home page, click on event sports light, RSVP by 8:15 and enter your name. Also do it for the Goodwill of North Georgia. We have 2 gift cards today, and the day is Friday, and today could be your lucky day.
Hey, and look, we're going to be giving away those gift cards later on in the show, but for right now, it's time for us to get our devotion. We have a great devotion today that's brought to us by none other than Reverend Dr. Gregory V. Eason of Flipper Temple AME Church. And it's become our tradition to begin our meetings with a positive inspirational message from a member of our community, recognizing that many in our community are driven by their spiritual faith to participate in the Westside revitalization effort. The time at the beginning of our meetings is an opportunity to share various inspirational reflections. While the speakers may articulate their personal faith, it's meant to be inclusive, inspiring, and meaningful with the story of Nehemiah as our guide. Enjoy.
Good morning. My name is Gregory Eason, and I'm the pastor of Flipper Temple AME Church here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we are located at 580 Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard. And I'm blessed to be with you. In Nehemiah chapter 4 and verse 6, the word says the people had a mind to work. And over in Nehemiah chapter 6 and verse 3, the word says that I'm on the wall and I cannot come down. I want to use for a thought this morning, rebuilding spirits and structures. Rebuilding spirits and structures. Nehemiah had a heartfelt concern about the people of God. He was concerned about their spiritual, emotional, and fiscal well-being. He was also concerned about the physical condition of their community. The walls were broken down. The gates were burned. He was very concerned about the living conditions of God's people. So this morning, we are concerned about the structures, the housing, the infrastructure, the education. We are concerned about adequate health care. We are concerned about living wage, because that is the concern that Nehemiah had for the Jerusalem community and the concern that we must have for our community. We show this concern in three ways. We must have a heartfelt concern for God's people. A heartfelt concern for God's people. Nehemiah, yes, he was concerned about those walls that were broken down. He was very concerned about the burned gates. But again, he was concerned about the people's relationship to God and their relationship to one another. Nehemiah was very concerned about the quality of their lives. He understood that the will of God for our lives is that we would prosper and be in health even as our souls prosper. Nehemiah was concerned about God's people. And should not we be concerned about quality public school education? Should not we be concerned about living wage and not just minimum wage? Should not we be concerned about access to universal health care? Should not we be concerned about the total condition of God's people? What Nehemiah found out was that the physical condition of the community paralleled the spiritual condition of God's people. So the book of Nehemiah is calling us to have a heartfelt concern for God's people by rebuilding their spirits as well as their structures. And then secondly, if we're going to rebuild community, we must have a heartfelt concern about God's place. Let me say that again. A heartfelt concern about God's place. We have found out during this pandemic that God's place is not just in a church building, a mosque, a synagogue, or a temple. We have found that God's place is also in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our cities, all across our nation. And for us this morning, God's place is in the West Side. God's place is right there among God's children who are struggling for a quality education. God's place is right there for that parent who is trying to keep food on the table for their children. God's place is right there and right here in the West Side community. We are concerned about dilapidated housing. We are concerned about an infrastructure that may not be what it needs to be for the quality of life for God's people. So we must have a heartfelt concern for God's place. We are in the West Side in the middle of vast monuments to material prosperity, and that also must be spread to our communities so that we can rebuild housing, rebuild infrastructure, and rebuild community. And then finally, we must be concerned and have a heartfelt concern for God's people, God's place, but we must also have a heartfelt concern for God's purpose. Brothers and sisters, God purposes to rebuild the spirits of God's people and the structures of God's community. And we must join with God like Nehemiah did. Nehemiah invited the social, religious, political, and economic and grassroots community to help rebuild community. And make no mistake about it, there will be Sanballats, Tobias, and Geshems trying to stop the work of rebuilding community. But brothers and sisters, we are doing a great work, and we cannot come down from the mission and vision of a viable West Side community. We are doing a great work, and we cannot come down from providing for the educational and healthcare and total needs of God's children in our community. Brothers and sisters, the purposes of God is not just long white robes and glory, but adequate clothing for God's children right here on earth. It is not just about mansions in the skies, but it's about quality and affordable housing on the West Side. It is not just about banquets and glory, but making sure that God's people have 3 square meals a day. The future is in our hands. Let's have a heartfelt concern for God's people. Let's have a heartfelt concern for God's place. And let's have a heartfelt concern for God's purpose. And together, we will make the difference for God and community. I believe in the West Side. Let's get busy rebuilding spirits and structures.
Well, Reverend Easton, thank you so much for an incredible devotion. John, what did you think about it?
Powerful words, rebuilding the West Side, heartfelt concern.
Yeah.
Great words we heard this morning. I know we got some people out there watching us, so you're going to...
Absolutely, and it's time for our social check-in. Appreciate the cue, nice work there. Yeah, social check-in, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube again. Go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section below. Let us know where you're coming from. Give us a good morning, a happy Friday. Just show your enthusiasm for making it to another week, making it to another season. A lot of people didn't make it this far, but we did, so let's be grateful for that. Be sure to use hashtag Westside Future Fund, especially when you're dropping your comments or your questions for our panelists later on in the show. That's Westside Future Fund. Use the hashtag. It'll make it easier for us to locate and get your questions to our panel. And speaking of, John, I think it's time for us to actually head that way now.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up our panel, and we got a great panel this morning. In our sermon this morning, we heard about the importance of moving from a minimum wage to a living wage, and I know that's the work of Goodwill of North Georgia, so we have a great panel this morning. I'm going to do an introduction of the panel, and then we're going to do a short video and get right to our panel. But our panelists this morning, we've got Keith Parker, the President and CEO of Goodwill of North Georgia, which is one of the largest not-for-profits in the Southeast. Many of us know Keith as a former CEO of MARTA, where he saw over 5 years one of the greatest turnarounds in the organization's history. And over the next 5 years, he's targeting 100,000, 30,000 people, not just for jobs, but jobs with high quality, family-sustaining jobs that can be a fulfilling career. Dr. Eloisa Kamentek is our next panelist. Delighted to have her this morning, the presidency of Invest Atlanta. She also serves on the board of the Westside Future Fund. She heads the City of Atlanta's Economic Development Authority, where she has been a lot of her recruitment in nearly all recent economic development wins for the city, and we've had a few. Her passion is revitalizing communities and changing lives. We also have with Goodwill of North Georgia, Jeannie Taylor, and Jeannie Taylor is the Vice President of Career Services of Goodwill. and operates the program that placed 25,000 in competitive employment in 2020. Wow, that's quite a number. And she's a sought-after public speaker, so we're lucky to have her this morning on successful large-scale public-private partnerships, employee engagement, and employment outcomes for people with significant barriers. And many of our viewers may recognize Ebony Ford, who's been open in our program, but she's also a participant in TechBridge, a Goodwill program, and she is, as we can all know from the previous programs, an advocate about resident retention, where she lives in English Avenue, and she spends her free time mentoring residents who want to become homeowners through her English Avenue, and she also serves on the GO team for the Hollis Innovation Academy. And so before we cut to our panelists, we're going to do a short video, give a little bit of introduction to Goodwill North Georgia, and come back live with our panelists. All right, good morning, virtual panelists.
Good morning.
You for, good morning, Ebony. Thanks everyone for joining us this morning. Y'all, I'm seeing you on a screen here in the studio. So thanks very much for telling us more about Goodwill North Georgia and how the different ways y'all are each engaged. So we're going to go through some questions so our audience can learn more. In a little bit, we'll have an opportunity for our audience to ask live questions. But I think first we want to learn more about Goodwill North Georgia. So I think, Keith, we're going to tee you up first, talk a little bit more about the mission of Goodwill of North Georgia.
Well, good morning, Johnny, and good morning, everyone. We so appreciate this opportunity to work with partners to spread the good word about what's going on with Good. Going to be another who's going to open up a new location in your area that's going to bring a wonderful, I think, further our partnerships with so many great organizations. I always start these off by asking people this question: how many of you have either shopped in or donated to a Goodwill? And typically, every single person in the room raises their hand because people know about our stores and that they can find these great values and so forth. But what many don't know is that we take the profits from those stores and all those transactions. So people donate things and people buy things. We take those profits and we turn it into our mission, which is to put people to work. And we've now become the very best in the country at helping to connect people to jobs. We have been around almost 100 years in North Georgia. And during that time, literally hundreds of thousands of people now, we've helped connect to jobs. So we are really excited about this new opportunity. And you'll be hearing more about that as we are going to be opening up a new store and career center on Metropolitan Parkway that's going to bring enormous positive results to the folks in the West End, as well as other parts of South Atlanta.
Thank you. I know when I first started my job with the Westside Future Fund, you were good enough to host me, and I frankly didn't realize what a workforce powerhouse y'all were, and I appreciate because y'all been working so hard to get more of a location on the West Side. But another question for you, I think, Keith, and you got such great operational background, and but tell us a little bit about how, because Turnaround Mart, I'm sure that you took some lessons from that, given the pandemic, and how that affected Goodwill as a whole, and how you went executing your mission and the challenges that you faced and kept going through the pandemic.
Well, we're a retail operation. The way we generate funds is through retail. And as you all know, the retail sector was enormously hit last year when the pandemic struck. So we had to actually shut down all of our stores for around 2 months and then went into a lower mode of operation for quite a while. But we made a major decision, and that was we were going to keep our people employed and we were going to keep their health insurance and other benefits going during that period. And it cost our organization over $16 million. And not very many nonprofits can survive with the $16 million hit. But we thought the right thing to do was to continue our mission of keeping people employed while we also, and you'll hear from this from one of my partners, Jenny Taylor, about how we kept how we kept our workforce development, job training, and job connecting things going, even when we were shut down as a retail operation. So we use a lot of those skills that I picked up along the way in operations, as well as many of our other team members, to keep our people safe and transition quickly back into operation. We were one of the very first retailers in the entire country to require a mask when you came in, and we came up with a touchless donation system. And as a result, we have had some hit, like every community has been hit in some ways as it relates to the pandemic and people getting the virus and so forth. But our numbers have been relatively minimal when compared to others because we've taken those precautions and done the things we think were smart to keep our people, our customers, and our community safe.
I mean, that's amazing. I'm going to ask you to say again such a big deal because many retailers didn't do what you did. But say again how many, you didn't cut any jobs, you said. You kept everyone on the payroll.
No.
That's amazing.
We kept everybody employed, kept everybody on health insurance, and anyone who wanted to stay with us stayed with us. And it allowed us to reopen faster than many other retailers. And then, unfortunately for us, we didn't qualify for any of those governmental programs, where some people were able to get restoration of some of their funds and so forth, because we're a bigger organization. We are bigger than Target.
Right.
So we didn't qualify for any of those loans or loan forgiveness type things. So we had to absorb that $16 million hit and come back stronger than ever. And right now we are strong. I mean, we've bounced back. Customers have come back. They're shopping. They're donating. And we appreciate that. And you're going to see that when we come to Metropolitan Parkway.
Well, yeah, and that sets up the next question is, really, and I appreciate, we all know that unfortunately the pandemic hit lower income African Americans harder than other parts of our city. And how do you think the events of the last year further eliminated the need for goodwill to focus throughout Metro Atlanta, but specifically around the Metropolitan Parkway? What are the unique issues y'all have seen so far around the Metropolitan Parkway issue that you hope that this new center will help tackle?
Well, and then I'm going to turn it over to my partners. One of the realities is, and I study workforce trends and have been trying to be as much of a student as I can about the future of work. And as many of you have heard about the study that McKinsey did and was published more than a year ago, that illustrated and highlighted what was going to happen to various segments of our communities as work changes in the next decade or so. And the group who was expected to be hardest hit were Black and brown people, and particularly Black males of certain types of jobs. And what the pandemic did was take that 10-year period that we thought was going to have this devastating impact on Black male and other Black and brown folks, their employment opportunities and chances in life and so forth. And it shrunk it from 10 years down to a couple of months. And so what we saw at Metropolitan Parkway and many other places was the unemployment rate exploded. And we saw poverty increase in areas that were already struggling. So what we're trying to do, and we predicted some of these things happening, what we're trying to do is get ahead of many of those major challenges and bring what we think is the ultimate teach a person to fish type of organization to the Metropolitan Parkway area. And that's what our career services unit of Goodwill does, is that we provide the workforce training, the job connecting, and a whole host of other things that makes that person able to completely take care of themselves. And you'll hear from Jenny Taylor about how we go from a job to a better job to a career in our approach on this. because I really like what the pastor said about a prosperous community, and for a person to really have a prosperous community, he or she has to find dignity in work and have the opportunity to take care of themselves, their families, and then the broader community.
Yeah, and I appreciate that word dignity. And so what you're saying is, unfortunately, the pandemic accelerated trends you saw coming. But the good, I guess it's good news, bad news. That's the bad news. The good news is the Metropolitan Parkway is there and ready to serve. And with that, I'll turn, Eloisa, thank you for joining us this morning. I know you got a real demanding calendar. So thank you for taking time out this morning. And for those that don't know as much, maybe you'll just start and tell us a little bit about the mission of Invest Atlanta and some of the goals that you have for Invest Atlanta.
Yeah, thank you, John. It's nice to be with everybody this morning. The vision of Invest Atlanta is really to make Atlanta the most economically dynamic and competitive in the city, in the world. And what we do is we focus on several pillars. We have economic and community development, which are two main pillars. But what I'm excited about is after July 1st, we will have workforce development programs. And it's these verticals that I feel is our secret sauce, because what we're able to do is braid all the resources in unique ways that allow us to drive impact for the businesses and residents in our city.
So I think what you're saying is that the workforce agency of the city now that operated independently, is that right, Eloise, will be coming under Invest Atlanta. So what you're saying is an offer more seamless experience in connecting people to jobs.
That's exactly right. So if you think about when we attract a company, we would attract the company and talk to the company about what sort of jobs are they going to hire. At the same time, we'll have workforce at the table. They're going to listen, start to prepare individuals to take those jobs. So when company X begins to hire, workforce will be able to feed some of those jobs. And then what's so exciting is we're going to have a compliance component on the back end. And we're just going to be able to trust and verify that those jobs are really going to individuals from the city of Atlanta.
So that's terrific. So what I hear you saying is when organizations coming in that you've successfully located into our city, they commit to hire so many people locally, and then you're also going to be the pipeline to get people on those jobs, and you have a mechanism to ensure they do what they say.
That's exactly right. For the first time in the city's history. Yeah,
that's fantastic. And I appreciate, because you do a great partnership with the Westside Future Fund, but talk about your partnership with Goodwill of North Georgia and why that's so important to Invest Atlanta to partner with an organization like Goodwill of North Georgia.
Well, not only do I want to recognize Keith, who's an amazing leader. I'm so excited to be able to serve on his board, but also to partner with him. One of the goals of Invest Atlanta, and I should say the directions, the Mayor Bottoms was very specific and told us to create an economic development strategy that focused on equity. That fundamentally has changed what we're doing at Invest Atlanta. We have 4 key pathways: education, economic, people, and place. So what that means is that people pathway is workforce development. It's about career-based planning. It's about finding opportunities to connect jobs to people. And so when we had the opportunity through our TAD to support Goodwill, there was no question. This will be the only career center in the city of Atlanta. And so we're excited. We're a part of the movement in Metropolitan. There's a lot of activity happening in that part of town. And as we know, the South Side lack resources. So we begin to address some of the issues that we've been focused on in the South Side. And so I'm super excited about the opportunity. I'm excited about what's happening in the area. And I'm excited about being able to empower an individual. And he said something that was really strong. It's a job, a good job, and then a better job. And so it's a pathway that we have to provide individuals. And this will be our opportunity.
No, and I appreciate what both you and Keith hit on, because that importance of equity often means getting folks who are disproportionately in the lower wage jobs, into those higher wage paying jobs, right? That's a big part of equity, and I appreciate both you and Keith spoke to that training pipeline. And so I think that sets me up for you, Jenny. I know you've been a great part of the team here. And so tell us a little bit about the resources that will be available to the community once the Career Center opens, and the partnership that will allow you to reach your goals for the community.
One of the things that's wonderful about our organization is that we are a partner. We design programs with the community in mind, with the community leaders that are already present, and build upon that work. And so examples of that, when we build a career center like the one that's going to be new construction ground up in that corridor, is that we work with organizations already that are there. So the Atlanta Technical College, we do co-enrollment where they're working on those academics and hard skills, and we work on the soft skills, teaching people how to show up on time every day, ready to work, and earning those credentials they need. But it goes beyond that. So we're working with the Atlanta Community Food Bank to do mobile food distribution in our center. We bring in Literacy Action to help people with their GED. We bring in the Latin American Association, who uses our space to make sure that folks who need English as a second language and need to work on their citizenship are part of the fabric of our community. And really importantly, we partner with the employers in the area to make sure that we have job training that is available, accessible, and equitable for the people in those communities, so that we're not bringing people and talent in from other states, that we're staying local, we're hyper local, and making sure that the jobs and the job training that we're delivering are in partnership with employers, in partnership with our other community partners, faith-based organizations, and that we're really serving the local folks and all those other wonderful folks who had faith in us to bring those donations and to create those jobs in those stores and to shop for those good deals. And then right next door is that career center that puts it all together.
Well, I think we're going to cut to a short video to show your upcoming career center. And with custodians from the Westside Future Funds, we're going to take a short look at this and come right back to our panel discussion.
I'm standing here on Metropolitan Parkway in front of what will become the Goodwill of North Georgia's 14th Career Center. This location, dubbed the Center for Workforce Innovation, will be a 38,000 square foot facility, and the 50 employees that will work here have a primary focus. That's helping residents find jobs and develop professional skills. Their goal is to provide at least 8,000 residents with job assistance. We know this is a proven model. The location closest to this one is in South DeKalb, and they had roughly 8,000 folks flow through there last year, half of whom found work. So we're real excited about what this means for the West Side and having them as a partner to drive workforce development across the neighborhoods. Looking forward to keeping you abreast of our progress. Back to you.
Wow, that's a lot of construction going on there. That's exciting. And maybe, Ebony, to kind of bring you into the conversation, thank you. And you are a graduate of Goodwill's program. Can you share a bit about your experience and what you got out of the experience?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me here as a panelist. I am in excellent company, very, very honored to be here in a different capacity at the Westside Future Fund Virtual Summit. So the program, I found out about it, first of all, through my following on Instagram and Facebook of Councilmember Mr. Andre Dickens, who posts everything Atlanta. I don't even need to be subscribed to any other like listing or mailing or anything. Just follow Mr. Andre Dickens on social media and you'll find out everything you need to know in Atlanta. So that's first of all how I found out about TechBridge. And so there's a link there and I applied. The process was very quick, very easy. I always had someone reaching out to me through email, through text, through phone. I finally got approved. I finally got my funding approved. And this all happened within like a week and a half, if I'm remembering. Now, my cohort did start in July 2020. So I'm kind of going off memory. So the dates will be a little bit off, but I think it was June or July that I started the program. It was 16 weeks. And within that 16 weeks, we worked really, really hard. We had challenges. We built websites. We presented the website to different community members. And we actually won. My group, we developed a website. We actually won. And I just realized when I pulled out my pen and paper today, of course, you have lots of tablets around your house and lots of pens and everything. But the one that I pulled out and didn't even really realize it was the one that I won for my challenge at TechBridge. So it was very, very challenging. We learned lots of coding, and we also dived into Microsoft Azure. And I actually worked for the state of Georgia in IT. So this was like directly correlated to my career trajectory anyway. So I was very, very thankful to add the coding and the Microsoft Azure, to my plate as an IT professional. So it has changed my life.
Wow, and this is a great example of what they were saying earlier, is that the training that was offered by Goodwill of North Georgia enabled you to upskill your jobs and even get a better a better job along your career trajectory. And if you
Absolutely.
were, you know, because often sometimes, you know, I've experienced that, you know, folks in the Westside can be discouraged and don't always, you know, take advantage of the programs out there. What, you know, what would be your encouragement to people to go lean into doing this? Like, what would your push be for residents out there?
What is your other option? Is it to stay, you know, where you're at if you're not happy at your job, or you don't even really have a career, you just have a job? If you want to make more money, if you want to do better for your family, if you want to be able to do better for yourself so that you can do better for your community. I didn't get as involved in my community until I was able to take care of myself and my son, because you really can't. You know, you
Right.
got to take home first. So for those reasons, in my opinion, there's no option. You got to go for it. The opportunities are available. They're there. It's free training. How could you say no? There's no other option but to always look forward, look ahead, and look up.
All right, that's a great quote. Look forward and look ahead, and free. And so Keith and Jim, maybe that sets up another question for y'all. Is you know, Ebony's a great example of your success, but what do you think is a secret to your success in the work development space? Like, what do you think you do uniquely well in this important space?
I literally think the single most important element of what we do is that we meet people where they are. We don't try to tell folks come in with all this pedigree and all the other things that makes the perfect candidate. Instead, we know that the life circumstances of the various people who we provide services to are just different, and wherever they might be. So some folks come to us and quite literally they've got everything worked out, and all they need is for us to review their resume or sit down with them for an hour to go over some interview skills, and that's all they need. You know, just that little bit of time. And then other people come through who literally might be homeless, drug addicted, and have a whole host of other issues. Wherever they come from, they come to one of our career centers or through our virtual career center. And again, we meet them where they are with judgment-free types of reception. And then experts like Jenny and her team assess where that person is and methodically go through what their opportunities are, and then try to connect them with some of the things that are already available, or start training them up to get them where they need to be to take full advantage of those things that are out there. Yes, but the secret sauce to our elixir, meet people where they are, judgment-free zones, and help them get to where they want to be. We can just be the sort of in-between piece of getting them there.
Yeah, that's great, man. Meet people where they are, judgment-free. Those are powerful words. And, you know, I guess maybe this is a question for, you know, you also, Eloise, maybe y'all can, especially now that we're hopefully turning the corner in the pandemic, but what opportunities are there now for residents to take advantage of? You know, their job opportunities or resources? Maybe Keith and Jenny, y'all can talk about Goodwill, about the event opportunities right now, and then Eloise, you can talk a little bit about with Invest Atlanta.
So, okay, great. So on March 25th, we're actually doing a virtual job fair with Airtropolis for all of those wonderful jobs at our airport and the surrounding area, and it's all virtual, so it's socially distanced. We will teach you how to create a profile, how to log on, and how to participate in events like that. CareerConnector.org is available right now to learn all about our virtual services and our in-person services at those nearby locations until we finish construction there. But I want you to know that what we're saying is a real thing. We've hit those ABCs pretty hard: a first job, a better job, career. And Ebony's a shining star of what those career lattices look like for folks who may not traditionally be in an IT job. Women of color are underrepresented in that industry. And so we're here, just as Keith said, to meet people where they are. And that is our goal, is to find out what you need and help connect you to those resources, whether through us or through partners like SEFCA, who are helping with the construction training for that site, or anybody that is going to be able to be available to you. Eloisa?
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. I'll just support, which is why I think Goodwill is amazing, and we're super excited to be able to team up with them. For us, I think the most important thing is continue to look at WorkSource Atlanta and all that they're doing on their website as well. They have virtual career fairs, but really, and I think it was said, we have to find options. So whether it's with Goodwill or WorkSource, just find the opportunity for you and what works best for you as an individual.
And I might ask you, and Eloise, I'm going off a little off my script here, but I know you'll be ready for this question, is, you know, there have been some exciting new job announcements on the West Side, you know, pretty significant companies coming to the West Side. You know, what kind of a job, you know, you optimistic about, you know, job growth on the West Side? What do you see happening?
I do. I think there's been a lot of interest in the West Side. We continue to show the West Side to prospects that come to the city. And we actually show West Side, South Side. And what's more exciting is we have a board at Invest Atlanta led by the mayor that's been very specific and direct to us. We are going to offer incentives to those companies that will consider West Side, South Side investments. And so not only are we going to tie it with, we welcome every company in the city, but when you come and you invest in these communities, we will support you through incentives. So it's that link that we think is going to continue to drive. But this is why it's so important. You need to be prepared as an individual for what those job opportunities are. And so I think preparing yourself through WorkSource, Goodwill, whatever it is, you have to be ready for those job opportunities.
And I know we got a big one coming with Microsoft locating on the West Side, so hopefully that'll be a great example of this kind of pipeline opportunity of upskill and take.
And John, let me, I'm glad you mentioned Microsoft, because many of the folks on the West Side and around the Metropolitan Parkway area, and many people tend to think, well, those jobs are beyond my reach. You know, I can't, that's too hard for me, or that's only for people with college educations and master's degrees and all those things. You know, we are one of the top providers of talent to companies as big as Amazon. You know, we've helped Amazon hire upwards of 3,000 people here in North Georgia over the last couple of years. And those are great jobs that people can then turn into wonderful careers and so forth. But folks should not think of their opportunities as just being limited to what they know right now and what they can do right at this moment. They should be really thinking about what their capacity is. And that's where Ebony is a wonderful example of someone who saw opportunity and seized it. You know, the way we came up with that Tech Bridge program, Andre Dickens and I, Councilman Dickens and I, literally he came by my office one day and said, look, what can we do together? What can Goodwill, how can Goodwill and Tech Bridge partner? We spent 30 minutes just throwing ideas around. And less than 9 months later, we had this program set up. And we've now had, 5, 6 classes of people graduate from that program free of charge to them, where they've picked up a whole host of IT skills and so forth that make them not marketable just for right now, but marketable into the future. So that's the type of drive that we want to help create in and around the Metro Parkway area in South Atlanta, because quite often the only thing that's limiting folks are their imaginations and their own willingness to just jump in and really take full advantage of those opportunities that are out there.
And I think that's so important, John. That's what's so important, is that that's what we mean by pathways, right? And so when we say pathways, we should explain that. I should explain that. It's how do you get that first job, then we get some additional training, and you get the next job and the next job. So to Keith's point, only your imagination of where you can go, what you want to do is the option. We will put you on the path, and then you can start taking additional courses so that you can get and reach that job.
Well, one thing I wanted to highlight is, and Ebony, you're a great example of it, and Keith, you were speaking to it, is that with 16 weeks of applying yourself, I think that you're speaking to, Keith, it's not a 4-year degree, so to speak, or even a 2-year technical, but in over a 16-week period, you know, some new skills that can put you to work in a better paying job.
Yeah, and it's not just IT. We do it in a whole host of ways. Everything from folks coming in and work and learning how to do apartment maintenance, for example, different construction type jobs, welding, just a whole host of things. Jenny and her team, again, meet people where they are, and then make some assessments, and then work with them on that pathway to careers. Many of our folks literally start off with a minimum wage type of opportunity, because some come through the room quite literally, come to us quite literally in a crisis situation. They need to keep the lights on. They need to pay their rent so they don't get evicted and so forth. But that's the beginning. And then we want to work with them to build those skills up so they can go from that entry level onto the better piece or better job, better paying position, and then onto the career. And no matter what job you have, though, what's very important treat it like the most important job that you'll ever have, because learning to be reliable, learning to produce at a high level, whether you're working frontline or working in the C-suite, they're all equally important.
Well, I'm going to shift for a second to more about your store, and I guess I could potentially be a shopper. I live on the West Side now. So what can shoppers at your new store expect? Like what will be at the new store?
Jenny, why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
All right, well, the treasure hunt is on when you come to Goodwill. We take all the donations from the local community, and every single day, treasures come in, down from basics to clothing, suits that have their tags still on them because they were just not exactly the right style, the right fit, or you gained a pound or two while you were in their pandemic quarantine, to books and clothing. And we really endeavor to make it a bright, colorful, professional space, whether you're on the store side or the Career Center side. You should find friendly folks, many of whom are in job training, learning how their work personality is going to develop, and helping to thank people who are supporting the mission that we're doing and giving back to our local community to make sure that we're lifting people up one job at a time.
So where can folks...
And John,
Yep.
John, just one other quick thing I'll add to that. And Eloisa and the city have been wonderful partners at this. That people, when you first hear a thrift store is coming to my neighborhood, should I be concerned? What we're going to be building there is beautiful. I mean, it not just fits in with the area; it helps accent the area. It's going to be a beautiful facility, and we want that not just for the store, we also want it for the career center, because quite often the folks who come to our career centers have been beaten up a little bit. Right. And we want them to have beautiful colors and wonderful lighting and state-of-the-art fixtures, all of those things. So they walk in there, they're feeling like, man, I'm walking into a place that's going to help change my life, not a reminder of some of the tough things I've had to go through. So we want it to be first-rate hardwood floors, LED lighting, state-of-the-art purchasing systems. All those things are going to be a part of your community. So it's not the Goodwill of old, not that the Goodwill of old was bad, but it's just the new amplified version of state-of-the-art everything. And so you'll be able to see that, witness it, and we hope you enjoy it. Shop, donate, and be a supporter of the whole Goodwill ecosystem.
And I'll just add, John, Councilmember Shepherd was very specific on that. She wanted to ensure she got a top-rate career center in her district. So.
No, I appreciate that. What I heard you say, Keith, it'd be very intentional of showing how much you care for people by having something that's really spectacular when they walk in, because maybe too often on the West Side you don't see enough of that. So I appreciate what I hear about your intentionality of ensuring people feel uplifted when they walk in that new store. So that'll be exciting. So if people want to kind of keep up to speed, maybe this is for you, Jenny, but where can folks go to find out more about the new location, stay up to speed on when it's going to open? Is there a place on the website or?
Yeah, well, goodwillng.org/metro. So if you're driving by that corridor on your way to where you're going to be in the neighborhood, you'll see it. But we also have time-lapse photography and a camera showing the progression, so you can see it from when it was trees and a bus stop to the development that's going on and the everything progressing. And so you'll be able to watch it as we do.
And say again when you expect it to open up.
We think early fall 2021, provided that the weather is good to us and we don't have any construction delays. So September, October, November, somewhere in there.
Those city permits, right, Eloisa? Well, I think at this
point.
We're
on it, John.
Yeah, and it's a great tee up, Jane, with you talking about where people can get information. But we want to see if we have some questions from our live audience. So we got folks watching us via our social media challenges. And Benjamin was going to, see if we have some questions. There you are, Benjamin. You're behind me, so I couldn't see. I was hoping you were there, but I couldn't turn around to check. But there you are.
Have no fear, Benjamin is here, John.
All right, man. Whew, I was nervous for a second. But you want to see if we got some questions for our panelists off the screen?
We've got our feed going here on Facebook right now. We got a lot of love coming in from the community. I think I saw Miss Principal Tiana Crooms earlier. She commented. But we got a lot of people just showing love for Goodwill, showing love for Invest Atlanta. Good mornings, a bunch of good mornings. We got here a question for Jenny Taylor. What's the most important lesson you all have learned about how to best serve diverse communities who need assistance?
You know, one of the things that I can tell you is just exactly what Keith said, is to meet people where they are. And I'll do that by telling you a story. So at our Goodwill, we often get referrals from state agencies and from government partners and other nonprofit organizations. And we did just that with a young man named Donnie. He came to us and he had a file this thick where he had come from another provider in another state and his family had moved to our area. And in that file, reading through, learning about him, we knew that he had attention deficit hyperactivity disorder off the charts. Super high energy, really difficult to focus. And he's nonverbal. He doesn't speak at all. And so normally what we do when we begin to work with somebody is to understand what drives them. And the file said that they were so proud and so successful that they had been able to get Donnie to work and focus for 20 minutes at a time. And then they had to let him get up and run around and get all his energy out. And they would bribe him with a pile of M&Ms to come back and sit down and work. Well, most employers don't have the M&M payment plan. And most employers are not going to tolerate somebody running around their buildings. And when we usually go to find a strength-based approach, which is where we meet people, you want to interview someone, but Donnie can't speak. He can't tell us about his life. So we talked to his parents and we asked them what makes Donnie happy. What does he do in his spare time? He had never worked. He came right out of high school into job training programs and had never held a job. So what does he like to do? And they said, well, he likes to watch a lot of TV. Well, as soon as those TV watching jobs come, we have a long waiting list for that. What else does he like to do? Well, he collects cars, the Matchbox cars. He works on cars. He's very intelligent. He just has no ability to speak and this focus issue. And he even sleeps in one of those car beds still. He was my age at the time, but still sleeping in one of those car beds because he loves cars so much. It's like, all right, well, we're getting somewhere here. So one of our brilliant job coaches said, you know what, instead of trying to assess his skills in our store and processing and working there, let's think about something else for Donnie. And so we went to one of those car detail places that still takes care of the cars by hand. And the first day Donnie came to us, we took him over there, talked to the owner of the shop, and we didn't have to do 1 minute of job training. He knew exactly what to do. He got all of his materials. He worked all day long. By the end of the day, the owner wanted to know if Donnie had a brother because he was ready to offer him a job and anybody who was like him. Because he wasn't out back loafing with the other guys. He wasn't chatting up the customers. And Donnie had the most brilliant smile on his face all day long because people who bring their cars to be detailed, those are high-end cars. So he got to touch cars, get really familiar with them all day long. And that's an example of working for people who maybe have significant and profound disabilities that people are not sure are where they're going to work and how they're going to be self-sufficient and have that dignity, all the way to college professors who have been working 20 years and have a graduate degree and need a job change. We meet people where they are. We find out what drives people, makes them happy, and what their strengths are, and tailor the job training to them. So that's what I've learned over the 20 years that I've been doing this work, is there is no one size fits all. You have to really get to know people and what is going to help them to be successful and them to be self-sufficient. And like our founder, Reverend Edgar J. Helms said, be dissatisfied with your work until every member, every one of our neighbors lives to their highest potential in an abundant living. And that's what we continue to do more than 100 years later.
Wow, that's a powerful, powerful story. Next question is for Ms. Eloisa Clementich. You do an amazing job leading Invest Atlanta. How does working with organizations like Goodwill of North Georgia and Westside Future Fund help make it easier to serve local entrepreneurs?
Well, the reality is we can't do it alone. And so I think it's very important to have organizations like Goodwill, because we are focusing on entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is a way to create wealth. And our equity strategy and the path we're on, that's what we're trying to do, is how do we create greater wealth for our families and businesses here in the city. And so for us, working with Goodwill and Westside Future Fund, it's crucial. We support them through their investment. So here, work very closely with Goodwill, provided them a tax allocation district for grant so that they could produce the best site in the city. With Westside Future Fund, we work with them on affordable housing to try to find ways to bring more affordable housing to the city. So again, every entity is a little different, but really for us, it's how do we work together to bring the results that we both want to the city residents.
Wonderful. Next question is for Mr. Keith Parker. How did your success at MARTA inform how you look to impact Atlanta residents through Goodwill of North Georgia?
Well, you know, I've had just the great honor of working around the country. I've had, I think this is my sixth CEO job. And I've had the great pleasure working around the country in wonderful communities all over. And when I know I'm in the right spot, it's when I would do the job for free. And with Goodwill, I recognize that after we had our graduation, when we do these graduations, people like Ebony come up and go across the stage, and their families are with them and so forth, and they sort of celebrate what they've accomplished. And the types of people who we've helped, again, are folks who are pretty accomplished already and just needed a little bit of help. But then the ones who really stand out to you are the folks who come from enormous difficulty. And after they tell their story, there's not a dry eye in the place. And so when you hear Ebony's story and you hear the story about Donnie, they're special, but they're not unique. We literally do this 20 some odd thousand times a year where we help folks. And so MARTA was a big behemoth that was a giant type organization that we're helping a lot of people, but I don't get to feel them every day. Goodwill is much more, you're right there. I mean, you feel your impact on folks every single day. And so, yeah, they're all fulfilling, all wonderful. It's like picking between your kids. I love them all. They all drive me crazy at times, but you still love them all. So yeah, so it's been an honor for me.
Well, you gotta love them all. You gotta love them all, absolutely. You can't do the work that any of you do without loving what you do. Question for Ebony. How has your experience through Goodwill and also with Westside Future Fund changed your perspective about local opportunities for Westside residents?
Well, it certainly lets me know for a fact, if I didn't know before, that there are opportunities for us over here. And I think John said, you don't see certain things on the West Side. And as Jenny and Eloisa and Mr. Parker said, they wanted to present the new Goodwill location, Goodwill North Georgia location, to be a certain way so that we can feel uplifted when we see things like that. So it just lets us know that we truly do have opportunities in this part of the city. They are there, you guys. We are not alone. We're not forgotten. This is just as much a part of the prosperity and the positive trajectory of the city of Atlanta. We're included in all of that. So I know you drive around other parts of the city and you just see all these things happening, and sometimes you can kind of feel left out. We are not left out. The opportunities are there. And I know that for a fact because of my experience with Tech Bridge and Goodwill of North Georgia.
That's amazing. And one last question, we've got it for, again, Dr. Clementich, which is, what do you foresee for future investment in entrepreneurs given COVID-19's impact on business?
Yeah, so we worked with the city. Well, I have to tell you, we were so proud to work with the city this year. The city received $88 million from the CARES Act. $22 million went to Invest Atlanta to support small businesses. We got 90% of those funds, 95% of those funds out by the December 30th deadline, which then got extended on December, I think, 28th to this year. But we will have the entire program closed out, all monies dispersed by the end of this month. We in our history have gotten out that much money. So what we are excited about now is the American Recovery Plan. And in that plan, I think the city will receive approximately $160 million. It's around that amount. I'm waiting to see how much the city will allocate for more businesses. So please watch our website, watch our information, because we will be putting out more funds for small businesses to support entrepreneurship. Now, I will say there were some lessons learned from our first go round. So our first go round was very specific. We were trying to get to businesses that had been in the city, but what we recognize is there is a strong amount of startups and those that are beginning the entrepreneur path. So my recommendation on this next set of funds is to include everyone, as long as they have a City of Atlanta business license. Hint, hint. So if you are a startup entrepreneur, please make sure you have your City of Atlanta business license, because that's what we're going to ask for. And we'll probably kind of take the breath of all businesses. So please ensure that you start to get prepared. But those are the things that we are looking for, and how we can support small business and entrepreneurship growth, because for us, that's going to be crucial to what we can do to create wealth.
All right, well, thank you guys for answering the questions. If you have any more questions for our panelists later on, you can still remember to drop the hashtag Westside Future Fund. Comment your question in the comment section below. We'll have someone get back to you. But right now, we just want to say thank you to some folks watching to everybody that's watching on YouTube. I know we didn't get to show enough love to YouTube today, but we've got a lot of people tuning in over there. We've got Muriel Murphy, good morning, thank you for joining. We've got Bill Bowling, thank you for joining. We've got Joan V. Hey, Joan, how you doing? Thanks for watching. Susan Grant. We've got Sylvia Russell. Good morning. Thank you for joining. We got Dan Cathy watching. Thank you for joining. We got Miss Lisa Clement. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this morning. I know it's not always, the best thing to wake up early in the morning, but at least you got to do it digitally. You didn't have to go anywhere or spend any gas. So appreciate you guys, and we hope for you to keep tuning in the future. Thank you very much. John, back to you for your closing thoughts on the panel.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Thanks for calling out the names. That's one thing I miss about being at the gathering spot, the opportunity to interact with people and hear from everyone directly. But I was reflecting as another question maybe for you and Keith, you and Jenny, but when you kind of gave that powerful statement, we want to meet people where they are with no judgment. And so maybe talk a little bit more about how that works. If someone comes in with, whatever kind of issue they may have, whether that's a emotional trauma or they're struggling with some substance abuse, but talk a little bit how you meet people where they are. I mean, how does that work?
I'll start, then I'll turn it over to Jenny. One of my early big decisions when I became CEO of Goodwill was to hire the new vice president of career services. And so we looked at people from around the country. And why I selected Jenny to take on that role permanently was because of her compassion. That you feel it when she talks about career services. You feel it when she talks about how much she cares about folks. And me having worked around the country in communities that have been challenged in many ways, in predominantly Hispanic areas, predominantly Black areas, predominantly where there was no majority. There's lots of different communities. I thought that was going to be critical to make sure we had a person who not just know how to run a business, but understood the impact on people. So let me turn it over to Jenny and let her then tell you why I hired her and what makes her special about being able to see and recognize why it's so important. Meet people where they are, help them where they want to be. Jenny?
Well, thank you, boss. I tell people all the time, without an ounce of hyperbole, that I have the best job in the world. Hands down, best job in the world. But there's only one criteria, John, to get into our program, and that's motivation to work. So if you unpack that a little bit, that means that if you have a criminal background, in fact, we currently go into prisons and help people transition out well. If you're literally homeless, if you're currently suffering from substance abuse, if you have severe and profound mental health issues, none of those things are going to stop you from getting help from Goodwill. We really literally meet people where they are, and there's no judgment. We know that people have made mistakes, have made bad choices, but the next best choice is the one that we want to help you with, and we're glad that you've come to Goodwill to do that. And so our services in the career centers are free and open to the public. You don't even have to show us an ID. Just come in and get help and support that day. Now, to enroll in some of our job training programs, there are some criteria because we want to make sure that people are successful and are going to be able to get the job at the end. So we don't want to set people up for failure. We don't want to set people up for not being able to get the job. So if somebody comes in with violent crime history, we're not going to put them through a child development associate training program where they're never going to get a job at the end. We're going to find industries and find employers and find companies who have a welcoming environment, who understand that this is a second chance. And we talk a lot about people with barriers to employment, but sometimes that barrier is just not knowing how to navigate today's job market. And so there's a perception maybe from the past that Goodwill only trained people and only helped people who either wanted to work in our stores, which are wonderful places, or really couldn't find a job anywhere else. And that's just not the case. Keith challenged me from the moment he arrived, is I don't want to take a whole bunch of unemployed people, which we've been doing fabulously well, and getting them their first job. And I want to create a whole nother generation of working poor. We believe very strongly in that statistic that we see that Dr. Seals at Atlanta Tech says, don't let your zip code and where you were born determine what your economic future is, that we want people to have economic mobility and move. But we also serve those folks who already have some work history and have some strong work ethic and just need that chance and that connection, like Ebony, to companies like Accenture or like another nonprofit to be able to give back to your neighbors. And so that's really the approach that we take. And if whether working at Goodwill, because I have the best job in the world, or wherever is going to make you happy, that's where we want to have you plugged in and where you're productive and have that paycheck and that spending money to take care of yourself and your family.
Well, I heard and that compassion Keith spoke about coming across, Jenny. You could clearly feel that when you answered that question. We're lucky to have you working for Goodwill North Georgia. And y'all, this has been a fantastic panel discussion. Thank you. We're going to do our wind up. And as we wind up, I want to give each of you an opportunity for some final comments. Anything you want to make sure our viewers know, anything you didn't get an opportunity to say, or anything you want to reemphasize, want to give some final comments. And Ebony, I'll start maybe with you to give any final comments. Not our final show with you, just final comments today.
Well, I hope not, John. I hope to come back. So thank you. I just wanted to say something. This is a few minutes back in the conversation. Mr. Parker mentioned that sometimes you hear about these companies and you're like, oh my God, that's way too advanced for me. That's not something I would ever have a chance. Some company that I would never have a chance to work at. But speaking of him again, Mr. Dickens, one of his posts about, I think it was Microsoft. And I had mentioned that I will be working at Microsoft and walking to work on the Westside Trail. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Now, that may seem far-fetched to some people, but you got to put it out there. You got to say it. You got to believe it. I mean, they got to hire someone, so I can be one of them. So just say to kind of instill, again, that hope into the people, residents of the Westside, just to know really good things are coming. Just hold on, hold out, and participate in everything that you have a chance to participate in. Because I'm proof, and I hope that I can be here as some sort of motivation and proof to see that things can turn around for you.
Great comments. Thank you, Ebony. What about you, Eloisa? Some final words?
I would just say that Invest Atlanta is very key and focused on workforce, but that's what's so amazing, and that's why I love what I do, because there's a broad breadth of other things. If you're interested in down payment assistance, if you're interested in a small business loan, if you're interested in a TAG grant, please check us out. There's a lot of other opportunities at Invest Atlanta that I didn't get a chance to talk about, but that we're here to try to help and support. Again, at the core, it's about how do we make it in Atlanta for everyone. And so thank you, John, for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for working so hard on behalf of our city, Eloisa. Thank you. And Jenny, some final words from you this morning. You've been great.
John, what I want to leave us with is that I'm honored and proud to be on this panel, especially with Ebony. It doesn't matter what we do if the people that we serve aren't successful. That's what my personal performance evaluation is driven by, is the success of the people that we serve and help along their pathway. And join us. If you're a company or an organization out there, we really mean it that we like to partner, and we don't try and put up new umbrellas to do something. We want to find folks who are good at what they do and come and join us. Whether you're a teeny tiny organization like Nana Grants with just a couple staff, or multi-million-dollar other companies that partner with us. So, and everywhere in between. So come join us.
And thank you. And I love your flowers there you got there this morning. Very pretty. And Keith, some final words, and thank you again for joining us. I know, you two have a lot on your plate, so any final words?
Yeah, just want to thank my fellow panelists, Jenny and Eloisa and Ebony, for not making me look too bad. You guys are superstars, and I just want to try to hold my own up here with you all. But thank you so much. It's great working with you. And I want to thank you, John. From the second I got this job, you reached out and said, how can we partner together? And I'm really excited about this opportunity, and other people from the Westside Future Fund. Charles Merriweather, who serves on the Goodwill Board and works closely with you, was instrumental in even putting this event together today. And we want to thank Charles and Mr. Kathy, going way back to all the various things he's done and being so supportive of what we're doing, and just so many others. So Jenny talks about this all the time, and I just reiterate it. Partnerships is what makes everything possible. And that's what we want to continue to do. We've got over 5,000 different partners today, and we're looking for number 5,001. So if you want to partner with Goodwill, we're ready. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. Great to be with you this morning. We're gonna and thank all of you. We're gonna cut to another short video about Goodwill North Georgia, and then we're gonna come back and announce the winner, including of a Goodwill North Georgia gift card. So again, thank you all for being with us this morning. We look forward to that opening in September for your new store on Metropolitan Parkway.
Thank you.
Now is the time to go Goodwilling, to be a part of a mission to help our neighbors find meaningful, lasting careers. When you donate or shop at Goodwill of North Georgia, it goes to supporting job seekers right here at home. Just last year, we connected over 27,000 North Georgians with new jobs. Every cleared out closet and every great deal makes a difference. And it starts with you. Donate, shop, support job seekers. That's Goodwilling.
Great panel discussion.
Awesome panel discussion.
Awesome panel discussion. And Ms. Valerie, I know we got our gift card winners right now. You want to go ahead and announce the winners?
Yes, congratulations. Thank you so much for our friends at the Home Depot and Goodwill of North Georgia. Our Home Depot gift card winner is Miss Lisa Clement, C-L-E-M-E-N-T. Also, our Goodwill of North Georgia winner is Mr. Charles Merriweather. Congratulations to both the winners today.
Wow, Charles Merriweather won. No, that wasn't a setup at all, was it?
Way to go, Charles.
All right.
All right. Well, before John gives his final thoughts, we want to announce an exciting announcement. We are welcoming back live performers at the Transform Westside Summit. So if you are an artist, whether visual, music, dance, you name it, we want to showcase your talents here at the Transform Westside Summits. Be sure to reach out to us, send us a message on social, send us a message at info@westsidefuturefund.org, and we'll be happy to link with you and get you guys in here. All right, John, your final thoughts?
No, me.
My final thoughts are thank you for Booker T. Washington Cluster leading us this morning. And I was reflecting, the great thing, even virtually doing these shows, is how we are still connecting, and through connecting each other, able to lift up others. And that was such a great example of partnership we saw on our panels this morning, the way Goodwill of North Georgia working with Invest Atlanta, the success of Ebony, and on behalf of the Westside Future Fund, we're just happy to be a part of it and feature all the great work this morning. And I think we'll be back in a couple weeks with a very special show. I think we're going to have Maria Saporta and Dr. Bernice King coming up for our next summit. So we got a couple closeout videos as we exit this morning. We want to thank you for watching us this morning, and we want to thank again Goodwill North Georgia, Invest Atlanta, and Ebony for being our panelists this morning. Appreciate our devotion spoker and all of y'all for watching this morning. Have a great weekend.
Yay!
Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.